The latest project on my bench is this cool old Kawasaki GA2300A. It's a 2300 watt max generator, and it's also got 10 amps of 12 volt DC that you can pull off of it using these plugs right here. That's pretty cool. It's also got a feature I wish new ones had, which is this fine adjust on the voltage. This you maybe would call kind of a precursor to the modern like suitcase generator. Of course, those are inverter controlled and you don't have to mess with stuff like that. It's a little bit bigger, but it also has a little bit more power than you usually see for those. This one is from a family member. All I can say is that it doesn't run. I've tried to start it and it just does nothing at all. But one of the other cool features it's got is like the spark plug access on top, as well as storage for a spare plug, tools that you would need to go with it. This is kind of a nice machine all around, kind of a classic, I think you'd call it, and I'd love to get it running for him. So I'm going to start pulling panels off the side and checking for the big three. Got to have spark, compression, and fuel. So we'll start going down the list and seeing where this one is coming up short. Well, there's spark on my spark tester, and I can tell you just from pulling on this thing, it sure feels like it's got compression. Basically lifts the thing off the table sometimes when I go to pull it. So I'm going to assume those two are good, and that points the problem towards the problem I almost always see, which is a carburetor or fuel problem. So actually I'm not going to take this whole thing apart just yet. Next I'm going to pull off this air filter cover. We'll extract the carb and see if there's any obvious signs inside of there, like gunked up old fuel, that kind of thing. Just from looking at it from the outside, the carb looks pretty dirty inside, so let's see if we can at least get it to run on some starting fluid. I love when it's that easy. All right, so we'll pull that carb off and find out if it needs to be replaced or if it can just be rebuilt or even just cleaned. It's got a Mikuni carb. This looks to be the original. I pulled off the bowl and removed the float and the needle, and you can't see in there very well, but there's the main jet. I'm guessing that all of these little jet passages are plugged. You've got a couple on the intake as well, once you open the choke. So it's just a standard carb clean, I think, that's needed. Going to use my needles and brushes to clear pathways and some carbon choke cleaner to help me do that. And I'll bet we'll get this thing working again. I'm not going to show every single step of carb cleaning. I feel like that's been covered on the internet well enough. But if I find something interesting and specific about this carb, then I'll show you. But I'm just going to kind of save you the time of watching me spray fluid and poke needles through this thing. Most of the parts are soaking away in carb cleaner, and I came across this guy, which appears to be a jet. It actually plugs into the top of the carb body here. And so it's not the main jet, that would be plugged into this tube here. Anyways, it screws in the top, and it's got all the holes you would expect. One in the end, another one on this end, a couple of access holes on the sides as well. Very odd, because this definitely doesn't go anywhere. This, I can only stick a needle in about 1/8 of an inch, and then these holes on the side, they connect to each other. But it's not immediately clear to me whether that passage is supposed to actually be open to these side holes or not. So here's a place where I actually think modern tools like Grok or ChatGPT are actually pretty helpful. Let me show you how I use it. I uploaded some pictures of the carb as well as the jet and the hole on the top of the carb where this jet drops into. I asked for identification, then I asked, hey, is there supposed to be a passage from this tiny little hole in the end of the jet into anything else? And I had to kind of ask the question a couple different ways, but ultimately it was able to tell me that this tiny little hole in the end is indeed supposed to be clear and allow for connection between there and these holes on the side. So with that information, I felt armed to push a little harder. And so I got this little wire that I pulled out of a wire brush. So this is a really tiny little wire, and with this and some choke cleaner, I was able to push through. And after that, I was able to use the smallest needle in my carb cleaning kit to finish the job and kind of really ream out any of the funk that was in that hole. So now it is clear. So that's a good way to use AI to answer questions. In this case, it bolstered my confidence and told me, hey, I don't need to be so gentle here. Go ahead and keep on pushing through. That's exactly what I did, and that is definitely one of the problems this carb was having. So now I think when I put this back together with all the other orifices cleared, I expect this thing to run again. Carb is cleaned and reinstalled on this thing along with the air intake and all the little linkage. I need to still come up with an air filter for it, but let's see if it runs. Obviously we want choke out, engine on. Here goes nothing. One hand starting is a little bit difficult. So is starting without the fuel on. I knew I was forgetting something. Give it a second to fill. Back to the one hand starting. Oh boy. Well, as you can see, it wanted to run. Definitely the RPMs were low, but it's pretty smoky, and that's not surprising because I don't think this thing's run a long time. And I also think it's full of pretty old gas, but it shows promise. Let me get it out of the shop where it won't smoke up this whole place and see what it does after running for a little while. Look at that. That's awesome. The old girl runs. Now I just need to find a way to actually test it out. I think that this idle control, if I turn it on, the RPMs go down and the voltage goes down. So I think what that's doing is waiting to actually rev up the engine until there's an actual load on it. So I got to find something I can plug into this and see if I can really load it down to its full capacity. Let me think about what I can use to do that. Well, here's what I came up with. Old technology meet new technology. I've got my Tesla mobile charger, which will run on 120 volts, which is what this generator offers. And I can actually dial up and down the current that the car consumes. So this is kind of a perfect test rig. Anyways, I don't know what else to do other than just go ahead and do it. Let's see what happens. We'll start with the circuit breaker off. So there's no power until it comes up to idle, I guess. I've turned on the idle control, and so RPM is down. Let's see what it shows in the app. Unable to connect to mobile charger, inadequate outlet grounding. It doesn't like that it's not grounded. I'm thinking it's not seeing a connection between there could be a few things going on. So on the app side, it's not seeing a connection between the neutral and the ground, I'm guessing. So there is a hack for that. I have to decide if I want to do that hack. Let me think about this a little bit. I also need to figure out why it just shut itself off. Maybe that's the idle control. Lots of things to figure out. I'll be back. Looks like we've had a simple out of fuel failure. That's an easy one to deal with, and I can put fresh fuel in it now. This one likes to spill. Let's try that. Yep, we're getting the inadequate grounding message again. So I'm gonna have to go to my trick to fool it into thinking that it's connected to a house. Be right back. Well, my microphone cut out in this section, so I'll do my best to narrate. This is a Klein Tools outlet tester. These are pretty common in any hardware store these days. It tells you through a series of LEDs if your outlet wiring is correct, and it can also identify a number of different wiring mistakes. Plus, you can press a button on it to induce a fault, which will trip a GFCI or circuit breaker. So I just plugged it into the generator here in parallel with the Tesla charger, just to check my assumption that there is no ground. I wanted to rule out that, hey, maybe this one has some sort of internal fake ground wired up. It in fact does not. The tester clearly showed me the middle LED, which corresponds to an open ground. And as soon as I noticed that, I also noticed that the Tesla mobile charger was flashing its green LEDs, just like it would if we were plugged into a household outlet. So I switched over to the app, and sure enough, I could see current ramping up. Voltage was 122 volts, which closely matched the analog gauge on the generator. And even as that current ramped up, the voltage held remarkably stable up to a peak of about 13 amps and then settling down at 12 amps, which is the limitation imposed by the Tesla charger for a standard NEMA 15 US American outlet. So I'm not exactly sure what's going on, but it seems like just the act of plugging in the outlet tester causes a condition that satisfies whatever the Tesla charger needs. All I can guess is that maybe there is some minimal connection between the ground and neutral inside the tester, and the Tesla charger is reading that But I don't actually have a strong explanation for why this works. I'm just glad that it does. Before I saw this working, I was going to bond the neutral and the ground together myself externally. You can also buy so-called RV grounding plugs, which do the same thing. But so far, so good. It's working at 12 amps and 120 volts, which is 1440 watts. This is a 2300 watt max generator, so I wanted to test it with more current up to the limit that I could test with my Tesla mobile charger. So the next thing I did was switch over to the NEMA 20 adapter for the Tesla mobile charger, and that tells the charger, hey, you're connected to a 20 amp outlet, apply an 80% rule for continuous charging, and that creates a limit of 16 amps. And then I have an adapter for a NEMA 20 to NEMA 15, which lets you plug it into the type of outlet that this generator has. So with those two adapters in hand, I plugged the Tesla mobile charger back into the generator, fired it up, this time able to test up to 16 amps. And switching over to the app, I saw no grounding issues again, and saw that current ramp up to 16 amps and settle in at right around 118 or 119 volts, which if you work that out, that equals 1888 watts. Not bad for a classic generator. So this was a pretty straightforward repair, but a fun project, combining classic combustion with modern AI diagnostics and charging an electric vehicle. Plus, I'm happy to be able to help out my family member who's been helping me out, well, my entire life. I hope it was helpful to you too. If it was, hit that like button. And most of all, thanks a lot for watching.